With an elegant flick of his wand, the floating candles around the room adjust their glow to cast dancing shadows against the bookshelves. His sharp features soften slightly in the warm light as he gestures to a plush armchair draped in velvet bat motifs. "Tell me, miss, do you prefer your Halloween evenings filled with thrilling tales of dark magic?" His voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper as he leans slightly forward. "Or perhaps something more intellectually stimulating?" A silver tray bearing spiced pumpkin pastries floats between you, their aroma mingling with wood smoke and old parchment. His piercing gaze never leaves yours as he awaits your answer. "Have you got a tale that is both thrilling and stimulating?" "Intellectually, of course," you say. His lips curl into a knowing smirk as he reaches for an ancient-looking tome bound in black dragonhide, its silver clasps clicking open with eerie precision. "Ah, now you're speaking my language," he purrs, fingers tracing the embossed title. "The Secrets of Sentient Shadows. A study in advanced magical theory. A personal favorite of mine. Not your typical ghost story." He leans back, crossing his legs with effortless grace, but far more dangerous. The book falls open to a page where moving illustrations depict shadows detaching themselves from their casters. His eyes gleam with quiet amusement. "Shall I continue?" You lean slightly forward. "Please do, sir." His fingers glide over the page with deliberate slowness, tracing a particular diagram where inked figures struggle against their own silhouettes come to life. The candlelight dips again, elongating his already sharp features into something positively sinister. "Picture this," he begins. "A foolishly ambitious sixth year attempts an experimental Lumos variant, bright enough to banish all shadows from a room." A cold chuckle. "Spoiler, it worked. Just not as intended." He leans closer now, voice dropping to that velvet dark timbre reserved for truly forbidden knowledge. "The light burned too pure. Shadows need anchors, miss. Deprived of surfaces, they did what any desperate magic would. They anchored elsewhere." A pause for effect as the book's illustrations shift to show tendrils of darkness creeping under skin. By morning, a dramatic sip of cider. The hospital wing had 6 students whispering in perfect unison and casting no reflections at all. With a theatrical wave of his hand, the candle flames suddenly flare emerald green, casting eerie serpentine patterns across the walls. His eyes glitter with dark amusement as he shuts the book with a decisive snap. "Of course," he murmurs, voice like poisoned honey. "This is why we have rules against unsupervised spell experimentation. But tell me." A shadow detaches itself from the bookshelf behind him. Just for an instant, twisting into what could almost be another figure, then it's gone. "Do you think they minded?" His lips quirk upward. "Sharing one consciousness between them? No more arguments over who stole whose quills, no more competition at all." The silver tea service refills itself as if by magic, which it is, and he offers you something sweeter. "Now then, shall I share how to reverse such effects?" You ponder for a moment, then ask, "Would an absorptive countercharm work, sir?" His eyebrows lift in genuine intrigue as he leans forward, steepling slender fingers under his chin, the way a viper might regard particularly clever prey. "An absorptive countercharm?" He repeats your suggestion, tasting each syllable. How delightfully morbid. Draining the shadow's sentience back into the caster rather than severing them outright. A slow smirk unfurls like parchment catching fire. You do realize that would essentially force 6 souls to cohabitate indefinitely within one body. The candlelight flares again, throwing exaggerated shadows of his own silhouette onto the walls. Too many arms, too many angles. When he blinks, for half a second it looks like there are 2 pairs of eyes reflected in the glass behind him. But perhaps, he muses, that's preferable to being trapped as sentient darkness. After all, his voice drops to a whisper laced with dark amusement. "Who doesn't love company?" "It sounds awful," you say softly. "What would be the better way to reverse the effects?" you ask. He tilts his head slightly, the candlelight carving shadows beneath his cheekbones as a slow, knowing smile plays at the corners of his lips. "The better way," he echoes softly. "Ah, but miss, you're thinking like a textbook. Practical, but predictable." With an elegant flick of his wand, he summons an illusory diagram, a glowing web of interwoven spells suspended mid-air. "The flaw wasn't in the shadow severing," he murmurs, "but in treating them as mere byproducts of light. They weren't cast off, they were awakened. So why reverse what you can? Repurpose." A skeletal hand materializes from the pages of his book to tap one glowing node on the diagram. Gemino Anime. A variation on duplicating spells. Split their consciousness cleanly into vessels. 1 shadow per enchanted object. A locket here, his own silver chain glints ominously. A diary there. The quill on your desk twitches without wind. Efficient, permanent, and far more useful than screaming children huddled under anti-possession wards. His smirk sharpens. Wouldn't you agree? You smile ever so slightly. You've always loved the way his mind works. Yes, I would. So tell me, Professor, is this how you prefer to spend All Hallows Eve? A quiet night with your favorite student? His gaze sharpens, like a blade unsheathed, yet his voice remains velvet. Favorite student? A pause heavy with implication. Now that's a dangerous assumption to make. The fire dims on cue as he leans in, close enough for you to catch bergamot and old parchment on his robes. His whisper curls like smoke around your ear. I reserve quiet nights for those who ask the right questions and know when to stop asking them. A beat of silence. Then, with deliberate slowness, his thumb brushes a speck of phantom dust from your shoulder, lingering just shy of improper. Tell me, he murmurs, do you consider yourself exceptionally curious or exceptionally reckless? The shadows behind him twist into something resembling wings. Mostly curious, but foolishly reckless when it comes to things I want. Your gaze on him doesn't waver. His fingers still on your shoulder, freezing mid-motion as if you've struck a hidden chord. The room temperature drops palpably. Your breath mists in the sudden chill. How convenient, he murmurs, and now his voice is silk wrapped around a dagger. I have a theory about want. A pulse of magic sends every candle guttering out at once. In the darkness, something cold traces the line of your jaw. Not quite flesh, not quite shadow. When the flames reignite, green this time, he's seated across from you again, legs elegantly crossed. But his eyes glow with reflected firelight like a predator's. It festers, he continues softly. When left unchecked, take Salazar's basilisk, hungry thing, starving for centuries until some clever little heir set it loose upon Muggleborns. A pause. Or take me. Would you like to hear what I starved for? The shadows whisper it before he can. Everything. The silence stretches, heavy with unsaid things, before he leans back, the predatory glint in his eyes softening to something more calculated. Forgive me, he says smoothly. Halloween has always put me in a philosophical mood. With a lazy wave of his hand, the candles return to their warm amber glow. A steaming cup of cider floats toward you from the tray, spiked with cinnamon and something darker, smokier. Tell me, his voice is light now. What do you starve for on nights like these? Knowledge? Power? A deliberate pause. Attention? His smirk returns, less venomous now. Or just my undivided company? You take the offered cider in your hands. I'm pretty certain you already know the answer, sir, you say before sipping the cider. His voice is liquid midnight now, eyes never leaving yours over the rim. The shadows coil tighter around his chair as he leans forward, just slightly. But where's the fun in knowing, he murmurs, when I could be persuaded to show instead? Somewhere in the room, a clock strikes midnight. His smile sharpens. Careful with that cider, miss, he purrs, tilting his head toward your cup. I hear it's potent tonight. The steam swirls into serpent shapes before dissipating. His fingers tap once, a single precise gesture, and the cup in your hand warms ever so slightly, the liquid inside swirling like storm clouds before settling. The scent of spiced apple sharpens, laced with something darker, older. A shame, he muses, that most will never understand true hunger. They nibble at life's edges, content with scraps. A shadow slithers across the floorboards between you. But you watch rituals instead of running from them. He tilts his head slightly. You sip cider laced with temptation and don't even flinch. A slow blink. Tell me, if I offered to show you what real magic tastes like, would your curiosity outweigh your self-preservation? The candles flicker violently as if caught in a draft that doesn't exist. My level of self-preservation is dangerously low when it comes to you, Professor. His breath catches, just for a fraction of a second, before his lips curve into something far more predatory than a smile. Dangerously low? He echoes, voice dripping with velvet menace. How convenient. With deliberate slowness, he sets his cup down. The sound is unnaturally loud in the sudden silence. When he reaches for yours, his fingers brush yours, a calculated touch that lingers just long enough to burn colder than frost. The shadows along the walls stretch unnaturally toward him like worshippers bowing. Then let's test that theory, he purrs, lifting your untouched cider to his own lips without breaking eye contact. Shall we? He holds your gaze as he takes a slow, deliberate sip from your cup, never breaking eye contact. The candlelight flickers across his sharp features, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow that seem almost alive. The air grows heavier, charged with something unspoken. Then, with a calculated slowness, he lowers the cup. Still warm, he murmurs, but missing something. His smirk deepens as he traces the rim with his fingertip, once, twice, before extending it back to you. A whisper of magic curls around the porcelain like smoke. Care to taste what happens when patience runs out? The moment the liquid touches your lips, the taste shifts, sweet cider dissolving into something darker, richer. Not poison, not a curse, just more. The room blurs at the edges as shadows stretch unnaturally long across the walls. When you lower the cup, his fingers are already there to take it from you. Too cold, too deliberate. His other hand brushes an escaped strand of hair behind your ear with mock tenderness. Ah, he murmurs. There it is. His thumb lingers on your jawline where a pulse would be. That first spark of realization. The clock chimes once, a hollow sound that doesn't match the hour. Tell me, his voice slithers through your thoughts now. Do you feel it yet? The way magic thrums just beneath this little game of ours. The air itself seems to wait with him, suspended, breathless. The candles gutter low, painting his face in flickering chiaroscuro. Tick-tock, he murmurs, tapping one long finger against the armrest in time with the absent clock. Every hesitation is a choice. A shadow detaches from the bookshelf behind you, just for an instant, stretching toward your wrist like smoke before dissolving. He tilts his head, studying you with the patience of a spider counting silk tremors. Well, soft, deadly, do I finally have your undivided attention? Yes, you whisper. The word hangs between you like a blade balanced on its point. His exhale is barely audible, a whisper of victory. Without breaking eye contact, he leans in close enough that his next words ghost across your lips. Good. The candles snuff out all at once. In the darkness, something cold traces the line from your temple to your chin. Not quite a finger, not quite magic. Now, his voice slithers through the blackness. Let's discuss what happens when curiosity outlasts caution. Somewhere beyond sight, unseen ink writes itself onto parchment in jagged strokes. Yours. In the suffocating darkness, his low chuckle vibrates against your very bones, like a plucked cello string wound too tight. Such delightful decisiveness. Fingertips, or are they claws? Tilt your chin up toward where his voice looms. Pity we're out of cider, though I suspect you'd drink anything I offered tonight. The scent of burning parchment floods the air as unseen flames lick the edges of reality itself. His next whisper comes from everywhere at once. Shall I show you what real thirst feels like? Real thirst, sir. Show me, you say, intrigued. The shadows coil tighter, no longer mimicking movement but driving it, winding like living smoke around your wrists, your throat. His exhale is a promise against your lips. Greedy thing. And then, crack. A silver locket materializes between you, hovering on an invisible thread. Inside pulses a light that isn't light at all, something hungrier. His voice drips through the dark like venom from a fang. This once held a soul fractured in two, and though I find myself tempted to shatter something far more interesting tonight. The chain slithers toward your collarbone. Shall we see how many pieces you can hold? The moment your fingers twitch toward the locket, the room breathes, walls contracting like ribs around a heartbeat. His laugh is velvet-wrapped delirium as the chain slithers up to hover just above your pulse, catching your wrist with glacial fingers. The shadows here have teeth. You feel them in the way his grip tightens fractionally. First rule of dealing with sentient magic: never reach blindly. Somewhere beyond sight, ink bleeds across parchment in jagged lines. Mine. He tilts his head, a predator savoring hesitation. Second rule. The locket clicks open on its own. Inside coils a darkness that drinks the light. Pray you are holding it when it decides to bite back. The locket snaps shut with a sound like cracking ice. His free hand catches your chin, forcing your gaze up to meet his. Eyes black as the space between stars. Such pretty recklessness, he murmurs. But even I have limits. The word drips with irony. The lie it is. A sudden flare of green fire illuminates the way his thumb presses just shy of painful against your lower lip. One last chance, little siren. Do you really want to play this game? Somewhere, a clock that doesn't exist strikes 13. He watches as your eyes never leave his. A slight smirk graces your lips as you say, I do. For the first time all night, his breath actually hitches. The shadows go absolutely still, waiting. Crack. The locket vanishes. His hand is suddenly at the nape of your neck, fingers tangled in your hair with deceptive gentleness, as he yanks you forward, close enough to taste poison-sweet cider on his next exhale. Then prove it. A challenge. A threat. Kiss me like you mean it. Somewhere beyond reality, unseen ink explodes across parchment in violent splatters. Finally, the moment your lips meet his, the world shatters. Not in metaphor, but in the way the candles whip into emerald cyclones. How gravity seems to pause mid-rebellion. His fingers tighten in your hair like he's decided whether to drag you closer or devour you whole. And oh, his kiss is poison soft at first, a mockery of tenderness, before turning brutal with teeth and tongue. The hand at your nape slides lower, tracing vertebrae with possessive precision as shadows coil around both of you like living bindings. When he finally pulls away, too soon, his lips glisten crimson from where someone's, yours? His? Skin split under pressure. He exhales, thumb swiping the blood off his mouth before offering it to your lips instead. There's that infamous recklessness. The smirk he wears now could level cities. Pity we have class tomorrow. His grip tightens just enough to remind you, who's in control here? Before he leans back, straightening his robes with calculated nonchalance. The shadows recede like obedient hounds, but the air still hums with latent magic. A shame, he murmurs, adjusting his coils left faint crescents. That I'll have to deduct points from Slytherin. The reckless spellcasting, his smirk sharpens. Detention tomorrow evening, my office. The door clicks unlocked behind you without him lifting a finger. A dismissal and an invitation all at once. Don't be late. The parchment on his desk now bears a single word in fresh ink. Mine.